Salam everyone. Everyone knows about the war with the jinns before the creation of Adam alayhi salam, the last jinn king, Jan ibn Jan, and how he persecuted the Hin and the Bin races, then how Allah sent down an army led by Iblis to destroy them. After the war, the jinns became vulnerable along with other races, Hin and Bin, and they escaped to the most remote parts of the world where they began obscuring themselves from the rest of the world. But there was an event that happened after the creation of Adam, or more specifically after his death, that is rarely mentioned at all. A hidden war that took place between man and jinn some years after the death of Adam alayhi salam. You might be wondering, is this a movie? Because yes, some of these stories even to me sound like some big budget fantasy movie. But there are still records or mentions of this hidden war taking place, especially in Persian tales. Without further ado, let's get started. It has been reported by Ibn Kathir that after the death of Adam alayhi salam, his 40th son Sheeth alayhi salam received the mantle of prophethood from him. Sheeth then passed away, and it is not known whether the mantle of prophethood was passed down to his son Anush or not. Nevertheless, Anush had a son, Kenan, who then had a son called Mahlabil, who in my opinion is the central figure to this entire hidden war. So, who is Mahlabil? Mahlabil was a king, the king of the 7 regions, i.e. the king that ruled the whole world. According to the Persians, he was the one that cut down the trees, started using them to build cities and castles, and initiated agriculture. It is said that through him civilization began, and he was the first one to build the city of Babylon. Mahlabil isn't just mentioned by Islamic scholars, he is also mentioned in the Hebrew Bible as a patriarch and someone who was also a grandfather to Enoch or Idris alayhi salam. But more importantly, he is mentioned in Persian tales as a king of the Pishtadian dynasty of Iran. To provide more clarity, the Pishtadian dynasty is an ancient Iranian dynasty that first appeared in the long epic poem called the Shahnameh, written by the poet Ferdowsi for Sultan Mahmud Ghaznavi. It is an ancient dynasty that existed pre-Iran, and some sources say that they were the very first rulers of Iran. But coming back to Mahlabil, what did he do that made him an important figure in this long-lost war? The answer lies in Ibn Kathir's book, Qissas al-Anbiya. In Qissas al-Anbiya, Ibn Kathir mentions that Mahlabil fought Iblis and his army. Then he expelled them from this earth. This means that a war was fought between humans and jinn kind, which makes it seem completely like a fantasy movie. But let's have a look into this in a bit more detail. Ibn Kathir doesn't go into more details about this, and neither does the Hebrew Bible provide any information other than the fact that Mahlabil lived for more than 800 years. However, the Shahnameh goes into much more detail about this. The Shahnameh introduces Mahlabil as Hushang, the 3rd king in the Pishtadian dynasty. His grandfather before him was a man gifted by God and loved by all. Yet he was hated by the devil, and so to spite him, Ahriman, who was the devil equivalent, or Satan, raised a demonic army under the leadership of his son to kill Kaymaz and everything he held. Kaymaz was then advised by an angel of this developing news and sent his son Siamek to battle. Siamek raised his own army and went to fight the devils. He was then challenged by Ahriman's son to a duel. Siamek accepted the duel, but lost, and he was killed. Kaymaz, sad that he lost a son, was then advised by the angel once more that Ahriman doesn't intend to stop, and so he sent his grandson Hushang to battle. Both armies met with each other in battle, and Hushang successfully killed Ahriman's son by defeating him in battle and beheading him. There are a few differences between what's in Qissas al-Anbiya and the Shahnameh, which indicates that Hushang isn't Mahlabil. Firstly, in the Shahnameh, it was the devil's son who led the army, yet Ibn Kathir says it was Iblis himself. Now, we don't have any evidence that Iblis has progeny, and some scholars have said that he does, others say he doesn't, but my point is that there isn't a specific name that has been brought to say that this person or this jinn is Iblis's progeny. Secondly, Al-Masudi, an Arab historian, in his works Meadows of Gold and Mines of Gem, states that Kimaz was the son of Lut, which would make Kimaz the great-grandson of Noah, and that would make Noah the great-great-grandfather of Mahlabil. However, Mahlabil was an ancestor of Noah, and even the Hebrew Bible confirmed this, as he was noted down as Mahlalel in the Hebrew Bible. So how did Masudi reach this conclusion, and what was his basis in making this in the first place? Thirdly, the Shahnameh goes into details about Hushan domesticating certain animals, discovered fire, and made clothing from the furs of the beast. All of these discoveries insinuate that he was the first man on earth, which is also inaccurate given that Mahlabil was a great-great-grandson of Adam. When it comes to evidence of what happened before the flood, you'll find that evidence is very rare, with mostly myths and legends that have been added over time to make it interesting. But I always say that even within these myths and legends, there's always a hint of truth, even if it's 0.1%. Mahlabil could actually be Hushan, given that they share many similarities, and the Hebrew Bible confirms that he existed under the biblical name of Mahlalel. The war would have taken place, as in my previous video I mentioned that after the jinn war before Adam, the jinns retreated to the most remote depths of the earth and on a small island nation, the south of the world. So it could be that they existed with the human beings during the time of Adam, and after suffering their losses by the angels and God, they decided to get back at God's new creation. Of course, these are just stories that I'm running in my head, but they could also be how it turned out. No one really knows. And as always, Allah knows best. But yeah, thank you for watching this short video of mine, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button for more myths, legends in the Islamic world. Jazakallah khair. Thank you.